Ackworth was always home, and that's where you went to town, and that's where my family always did. We were raised in an era when the treat was getting to go to the pharmacy on the weekend, and if you're real good during the week, you could get a quarter, which would get you a small milkshake and a comic book. If you were bad, you only got a dime, so you had to make a choice about getting a Coke or getting a cheaper comic book. Ackworth was home. My grandfather, after he sold the property to the county for North Cobb High School, moved into town over off Logan Road. In fact, I guess it's called Logan Park now, or road. That used to be his farm in Ackworth, raised cattle. I remember Brahma bull on the property and hogs and everything else. He was always in agriculture one way or another, except he also operated the Feed and Seed, which was across the railroad tracks right off Main Street from what used to be the red light in Ackworth, right there in the center of town. I had thousands of acres for a backyard. And back those days, we had great dogs. They were all outside dogs, no dogs in the house. And my parents never worried because I was protected. I had one of the dogs with me. And it's literally having multi-thousand acre backyard, and you take a lot for granted when you grow up and you intermingle in the community and others that maybe not have had that marvelous opportunity. My dad was a high school basketball star, very shy man. He was a radio and technology expert for what that represented at the time. In fact, upon his return from the service prior to going to work at Lockheed, he actually opened up, I assume, what would have been the first TV repair shop in the North Cobb area. I was in college before I realized TVs came with backs on them, because every time we had a TV in the house, my father would have the back off of it, tinkering with it. He was a CB radio enthusiast. He was somewhat, I guess it was the computer geek of the times, but he was really into radios and that kind of technology. The lottery came out at 123 for me, and I got my draft notice to show up for the physical and what have you, and of course reported that to my employer, and the then general manager of the Water Authority, Calvin F. Simmons, came to me and said, "Roy, you can qualify for an occupational deferment being in this business." And I said, I appreciate that, sir. I would always like to return here, but I've been called and I'm gonna go. And I was chastised to some degree for that from others, but the fact is I had a lot of friends and acquaintances that were called, and some had volunteered that didn't come back. And I said, I don't think I would have ever volunteered, but now I've been called and I'm gonna go, and did. My draft group was a very interesting group. The median education level in the draft group I went through with was about 19 years. We had accountants, we had people that were already established professionals that had gone to school and then been called on the lottery. And they, like me, accepted it. After, again, declining going to war and officers candidate school, because they wanted to, and I can appreciate that, promote educational base and services and opportunities. And I appreciated that, but I was like, I was called, I went, I'm done, and did a lot of thinking in the service about career, and chose to return to the water treatment industry and the Water Authority. And then after 44 years, I wasn't sad about that either. 1953, the Water Authority was created. Many local community leaders were behind the effort. Cobb County government didn't think they could quite afford to do it at the time. So the Water Authority was created by an act of the Georgia State Legislature to become a political subdivision of the state of Georgia, and as well as Cobb County, and to be regionally represented by the cities and administration of the Cobb County and Marietta governments to provide dependable source and drinking water, which we did. We had intakes on both, and still do, on the Chattahoochee River as well as Lake Altoona. We served up to over 1 million people and more in the last years of my administration. Proudest thing I am of professional accomplishment is during my term as general manager, we obtained the first AAA bond rating that region. I get chill bumps when I think of Ackworth in the old days. As I'd mentioned to you before, just preparing for this, it was like my head was going to explode. Walking out of my grandfather's grocery store, feeding seed, across the railroad tracks, going to Chandler's barbershop to get a haircut, not quite making it, and going to Allen's 5 and 10 and buying a toy instead, and thinking my grandfather wouldn't notice I hadn't had a haircut. Activities at the farm, coming to town. The profile and obviously the appearance of Ackworth has changed a great deal to many, drastically for some of us that have been here forever. I have many dear and close friends that I've seen previously interviewed, quite impressive. Their pride in the community and their contributions to instill a sense of the past and what it holds and the future holds for us. But as I jokingly tell them sometimes, where y'all been? We've been here forever. Outside of school and Uncle Sam, Cobb County, and particularly the Ackworth area, has always been home.